Hey, this is Allie Edwards and welcome back to Stamp Week. In this video, we're going to be talking about using stamps to create patterns and backgrounds in your projects. Today I wanted to start with my traveler's notebook here that I have been working in over the course of this week. Yesterday I did the shaker pocket with the embossed number 2 on there. That one's pretty fun. I have a few pages left with this story. Again, my idea here, this is one of our Art of Noticing notebooks. My idea is that I'm using this for this trip that we took to Las Vegas. That's gonna end right here, and then I still have a bunch of pages left that I can use for additional adventures that Erin and I might take over the course of the year. And it's definitely getting full, and I think when you cut additional photos, like this one probably needs to be cut a little bit shorter so that it folds a little bit better there as well. But let's talk about creating patterns. Now you can make patterns with alphabets. You kind of saw that the other day. You can make patterns with shapes or icons. You can make patterns with just about everything. A pattern essentially is a set of repeated shapes, right? Whether that is an alphabet or it is a shape, right? Or, you know, an icon or something like that. So I pulled out some of my travel stamps here. I think that these are from last year's travel release. We do, for the last couple of years, we've done a travel release every year, usually in, I think it's June, late May, early June, sometime around in there. Where we release, you know, different things that you can use to support your travel stories. So some of these are from that. So what I'm thinking about doing here, at least on this page, is I'm thinking about making a pattern that uses this whole entire stamp. This is my first thought. I don't know if I'm actually going to do that because I might want to have more color mixed in, but you can actually take the entire stamp and stamp. And so I want to show you that. And today might be a little bit more just of experimentation and showing you some experimental things rather than the end result. I mean, I'll still have an end result. We'll see. So I'm gonna start with just a white piece of cardstock that I'm going to cut again to like 4 1/4 by 8 1/4, which is the size of here. I'm not stamping directly on this paper. The paper in here is just a little bit too thin for that, so you do want to use an extra piece. That's 4 1/4 there. And let's see if it's already, that's 8 1/4, good. It's probably one that I cut yesterday. So this is where I'm talking about, I think I'm gonna cut it just a little bit shorter so it leaves that space there, which makes it a little bit easier to turn. So let's just trim that down a little bit more. And I'm going like a 1/4 of an inch off there maybe. I think that's about right. Yeah, so that'll just make it so it's easier to turn because it's not tucked so close into the binding there. Now, this first idea again is literally using the whole stamp to stamp right onto the background. And in this case, it's almost like you don't even need a block. So let's see what happens if I do this. I'm going to use the same colors that I used that first day, which was this one where I stamped the Vegas things. And I'm looking for just an extra piece of paper so I can be stamping off on there too. So let's just see what this guy looks like if we do this. Oops. Okay, so we'll do a tester first because I like to test. Remember, that's something, if you take anything away from this week, that would be one of the things that I would hope that you take away. So you can put the whole stamp down just like this and get that kind of a pattern. So that definitely looks a little bit imperfect, and I'm actually okay with that. So let's stamp on here. And I think what I'm gonna do, this obviously is not gonna fit perfectly on there, and I wanna vary it a little bit so that it's not just, you know, right here. So I'm gonna actually start it, I think right here. There's not a rhyme or a reason for this. Press down a little bit. Okay, so let's do that again. And I'm okay with that kind of watery, it looks a little watery on there. I'm okay with that. Let's see what. And yes, you could totally take all these. I wonder if, let's try something. What if Ooh, this might be very interesting. I'm gonna try taping this on here. So this is just with the background's still there. What happens if I tape it on here? Will I get a better result? Let's try again. Yeah, definitely like thicker or, you know, more color on there. So I'll do that for the next one. I'm okay with that one on there, but let's just stamp off. And again, you could totally do this individually, right? And do all of the, each stamp individually to create a pattern. I just wanted to play around and see what happens if I do it this way. And I am gonna try to line them up a little bit here. So let's see what happens. And with a pattern, you know, you could go, turn it on its side, like it could have been diagonal, similar to what I did on the other one there, but in this case I just wanted to have it be up and down. Now you're going to see all kinds of cool stuff happening on here, right, too. So I also, another thing that I want to do is I want to have a little bit of, I'm just kind of checking this out. I want to have some orange on here, but I don't want it to be all orange. So this time I'm just going to go on the edge here of this one. And I'm going to place this, I'm going to offset it a little bit, which is another thing that you can do. So let's put that right there. So it's not going to be totally lined up. It's going to have a little bit more of a random pattern down below here, and that works good for me too. I think I'm going to do the green again next. And you could do this onto a pattern paper also, just like I did on, or let's see, I know I stamped on a pattern paper. Oh, it was this day right here. Stamping on pattern paper and putting those patterns on there also, you know, paper that isn't just a white piece of cardstock. Okay, I want to do the green again. And then I'll be able to do a little strip of blue over here on the side too. Okay. Which would be this side. Whoops, that was green again. I didn't want green. And you can always do something like this too, right? That's creating a background just with the random, you know, repeat stamping on top there. I'm gonna have this go off the edge a little bit. And again, I'm okay with the imperfect. Like I moved that one a little bit too much there, which is fine. Because we're playing around, right? We are experimenting. So now I'm going to do an orange here on the bottom. That's probably, I'm going to have a few of these on here. And I should offset it. I'm trying to decide if I offset it again. There we go, yeah. So we got a little bit on there, and then I'll do that blue color again for the other ones. Okay, so that one is creating a pattern with stamps all together, all the stamps that came on. This is a 3x4, and you could do this with other, you know, sentiments also. And again, what I did is I just taped that onto the stamp block there, or the backing. Just sticking that on there. Okay, so the idea with this is that it will then go into here, right? That acts just as a pattern paper, essentially, that's created from stamps right in here. And I might put some embellishment on there, or I might just leave it. Haven't decided yet. Okay, I'm gonna round the corner again. This is a 1/2 inch corner rounder. And then with this one, I'm going to start adhering it on the outside. So definitely a little bit of messy fingers with this one. Sometimes what I like to do too is to put a piece of paper down and just see if there's any extra ink on there. Sometimes there is. There's just a little bit of mess on there, which I'm fine with. So you can see here, this one's turns a little bit easier, but it's also not tucked right into the seam. This one is more tucked right into the seam. It would probably be better if I trimmed it a little bit. So that might be something that I will end up doing. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so the question now is, do I want to add something else on here? Let's see, what kind of travel? I have some travel stickers that are in a travel section here. Put them in. I don't really want to put any other journaling on here. Let's see. I could take something like this though, and like, how many of those do I have? Is it just one geotag? I kind of like just, let's see, kind of fun to have it be a different texture that's then a part of the pattern there. Again, it's messy. I got messy this time, and I'm okay with the mess generally. Like, that's not something that super bothers me. Let's see, does this cover this one? But this is also something that you could do if you needed to cover things up, right? So that's a good, kind of a good reminder to think about. Let's see. I don't know if this will fit on this one. I'm doing 3 because I like 3s, but that's too small. Maybe I'll just pick a love this one, and it could go right here. There. Okay, so simple and easy, right? And this is a great reminder, like, you know, I mean, I've been doing one thing a day in here, and it's the sum of all these parts that you know, is really cool in the end, right? And just having a little bit of variety even in the design, but having the colors be something that keeps it all together. So I also want to do another page in here for this one, and then this will be the end of this book. So I won't come back to this tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing some art journaling stuff and playing with stamps in my art journal. So we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But I had another idea. I'm also going to do a layout that I haven't printed the photos yet for. One of the things that I've seen before that's really cool, especially my friend Laura Wansek, she does some really fun things with bending her stamps. And so I want to create a pattern that bends around some stamps. And so I have this is also from maybe last year or the year before. There's a world stamp. And then from another year, I have some stamps that have longer phrases on them, and I want to bend them around the earth there. So that's what I want to do on this one, is create some sort of pattern. I think that I would like to build it off a piece of pattern paper, like I did the journaling for that other one. So I'm gonna hop off here, look at my pattern paper, see if there's one I want to build on, and then I'll be back on here. All right, so I grabbed a couple different pattern papers here. This is one. This is from Heidi Swap Color Fresh. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe part of this, like it has the green and the blue that I've kind of included in here. But I also have this, which is I painted, and it's from some art journaling stuff that I've done. And I kind of like, might want to use that to stamp on. So I'm thinking that I'm going to let's start with that and let's see kind of what that ends up looking like. I don't care about the letters as much. And literally, so this is like where I'm rolling off using a brayer. Looks like this. So like after you roll some paint on, then you can roll it off onto another page. And this is, it's kind of like this stuff, right? It's like the stamping off stuff. This is just kind of when I'm doing the art journaling stuff, I tend to have a page like this. So that kind of looks fun. So I was gonna see like how much, it's gonna be a little bit less than 4 1/4. Let's say I want to cut it off on this edge, I think. So I want to have this part. Remember, I'm cutting it less than 4 1/4, just to give it some space in there, especially with this paper that's a little bit thicker. And I think I do want to include some of that pink. Okay, so again, my goal here is that I'm going to create a pattern / background, and this will go in here like this. Again, it's just kind of fun, like, right? It's just, that's what's so cool about a little book like this, is this opportunity to play on this other side, right? Here you have your consistency with your photo and your words, and you can always put a photo here too, but you can also use it as an opportunity to play, bring in other colors, other images, other textures. Super fun. Okay, so I've got this one. This seems to be like that will work okay. So this is where I wanted to play with the earth here. I'm gonna use a big, actually we can use it on this small one. So bending stamps, let's test this out. Let's try out how this is gonna work. And I have a little one I can do a tester on right here. So I'm putting the earth down first. And then I am going to try one of these sentiments here. This one says long live experiences. And you can literally bend these stamps. So let's see if this one, it might need to be a little bit longer, but it actually might work just fine. And one thing I could do too is vary the phrases. So let's see. And I could put more than one on here too because of the way that this one is set up. So I want to make sure that it's kind of tucked in so it's following the circle part. Let's just do it in black. I'm going to use this Memento ink to start off with. We'll do a test. Actually, let's do a test just on this regular. This is just regular paper first. Try again here. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing, do you guys see what I'm noticing, is that my world is upside down. So let's fix that part so that it is the right side up. I don't really mind if it's crooked in other ways. Like, let's see. So I also want to make sure that I'm getting the top part. See how that was coming off there? So I'm going to push a little bit farther that way. Okay, I love that. That looks super fun. So let's test it out on here. See what kind of, what do we get on this? Again, pushing onto, oh yeah. Okay, so that looks fun. So, a couple things. One, once you have this set, you could do it in 2 different colors, right? Like I could do the earth a bunch of times, and then I could also do, I could do this, the phrases in different colors, right? I could just leave that on there as well if you wanted to do different colors. I think I kind of just want to do black. Let's see what this ends up looking like here. And for me, for a pattern, pattern doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, you know, 1, 2, 3 like this. Pattern could be random, right? Patterns can be symmetrical, but they can also be asymmetrical or just kind of around there. Or anyway, we're creating backgrounds, right? That's what we're doing. Or maybe not a background. All right, so I'm gonna start here. And I'm just pressing down, trying to make sure I get that. There we go. And that looks kind of cool too because it's soaking in a little bit into the paint that's on there. So I'm just gonna stamp this a few times around here. And again, I think it's a good reminder, like, that it doesn't have to be symmetrical, but you can also do this kind of experimentation and then you can be like, yeah, I don't like it, move on, something else. But I think that this is kind of a fun way to play with this. So I think I'm gonna come up here, do another one. You can see that I'm going off the page. So it's not just everything on the page. I'm gonna put one up here before I forget. And I could have it go upside down too. I don't know. Let's see what this one looks like. I might not have got enough ink on this one. Still worked out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would like to have an odd number on here. It's personal preference. Let's see. I feel like if I put it right here, then I need to fill in more spaces. So maybe I'll just do, let's see, where would be another place that I could put it without. I think I want to leave that. So I'm just going to add a tiny little one right here. So I can still count that I have 7, but that it doesn't have to be, I wanted to leave that space open. Okay, so let's see what this looks like in the book. It's definitely like darker than some of the other things that I have going on in here, but I'm okay with that. I think that can work. Another thing I could do, what if we just do, what's this? This is a heart. I have a little icon set somewhere around here. This is a little icon set that is part of the One Little Word mini kit. I'm gonna use, it's just cute, tiny little icons there. But I think I'm gonna put an orange star on here just to bring back in the orange color that I had on other ones. See how that's just a tiny little star? I think if I do that in a few places, I'll feel good about having that orange back in. It doesn't have to be anywhere specific. Like, it doesn't have to be in the same spot, but maybe I'll put it there anyway. Yeah. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna do another one over there. Maybe another one down there. Once you start going, then you're like, oh, I'm gonna put another one right there and another one there. Okay, there. Now that makes me feel good because I brought that orange color back in. That looks cool in and of itself. That's probably like a 3x4 card that I could put in something. And so I just tuck, like, I have that 2, the practice 2 that I did yesterday. I'm tucking those kinds of things in here, into my little box that I have right here on my table, just as something that could be used in something else in the future if I wanted to, especially filling in pockets. Just see how big this one is right now. 3, but it's probably just a little bit too tall. Yep. Here's another 3x4 card. Okay, so let's see what this one looks like in here. So we've got one that's super clean, you know, super clean, very graphic, and then we've got one that is a little more messy and fun here. So I'm gonna round the corners. Find my corner rounder. It's going to be tucked inside. Again, the background on this one is paint, which was from a different project on the other side of my desk there. Just paint on cardstock. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. And I'm lining up the corners of the previous page and just gonna put that in there. Here we go. And I can see a little bit of wet ink on there. So I'm gonna let this one dry. Actually, I'm gonna get another piece of paper here. You can see like that. I'm gonna leave this piece of paper in here for a little bit, but anyway, you get the idea, right? This one's kind of, you know, the messy, patterny, and then that'll flow into the last page here. And I think that I will add maybe another geotag onto this last one, which is similar to what I did. I don't think I'm gonna stamp anything on there, but I might pull one of these out and add it on just as a one more little embellishment for this section of the book. Maybe I'll grab one of those word phrase stickers that I just saw, those travel ones. I'm gonna put where to next because I kind of love that, especially as the kind of the end of this the little Vegas travel section in this notebook. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go print out a photo to do a layout with, and I think that I'm gonna do something with this as creating a background with the tag stamp set from this travel one that we looked at yesterday. That's my initial thought, and I'll be back on here in just a minute. All right, next up I am creating a layout about Audrey. She took this photo of herself. She and Anna recently were taking some self-portraits, and she took this one, and I loved it so much because it is really authentically her. So I'm going to use that as the jumping off point for my story. As I showed you guys earlier, I wanted to play with that tag, so the large tag there from an old set. And what I'm playing with here is some pattern paper. This is Heidi Swap pattern paper. I looked through my pattern papers and found this one that could be a good base for stamping these tags onto. And so I did some testing just a second ago. I cut most of it out of here, but I did test some over on that other sheet and then also on another piece of the paper to kind of see, you know, was this going to work on there? As you can see, I am not trying to make like make it, see, what am I even trying to say? I'm okay with the not fully stamped image, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It ended up, I think, looking cool and kind of vintagey a little bit. But what I'm doing is I'm varying the colors a little bit to create the shapes. Now, if you don't have this tag stamp, you could also do this kind of thing or something that's very similar, just using the stamp block, literally turning the stamp block over and stamping it down onto the page. This is a 2-page 6x8 layout, and so I kind of decided as I was doing this that I was gonna go 3 rows up on the tags. I could have done another row. I could have left 1 row off and done a title above the 2 rows of tags, just lots of different options, but I love this background. And what I love about this background, one of the things I love the most about it, is that it is literally creating homes for my journaling, right? I am setting myself up for storytelling success by giving myself shapes to put my journaling into. Now, you'll also notice there that I did reprint my photo. I hand wrote Dear Audrey using my iPad and then printed my photo with Dear Audrey written on top. So reprinted that because as I was setting up the tags there, I decided that what I wanted to do was use this as an opportunity to write directly to her. So I pulled out the Believe stamp set. This is one that we do have available during the stamp sale. And I'm using the Yes You Can and pairing that with the I Totally Believe in You. At first I was going to just do 3 tags and then I decided to do it on 4. The I Totally Believe in You is a little bit too long for that 4th tag, so I picked one of the other sentiment stamps that was on there. And I think it says, What I Know to Be True. Then I have a stamp set that is from a past December daily release. It has the numbers 1 through 31 on it. And I'm just pulling those off and I decided to number these as well. So if you've been following along all this week, you've heard me talk a couple other times about having stamping 3 things together. So in this case, I stamped Yes You Can as a title, I Totally Believe in You as a subhead, or the What I Know to Be True as a subhead. And then I stamped a number. And I did the number in red just to add a little bit of contrast to the black ink. red is one of my most favorite ones to use in this way. And it's a little bit about proportion, right? So this has a lot of black in terms of the stamping, and then I have this little pop of red, or these pops of red that are coming out in those stamped spaces. Another thing that you could obviously do is you could actually use tags if you're not even into stamping, but if you had tags, you could color them or paint them and then lay them down on a page like this and use those tag shapes as a home for your journaling. As you can see, what I'm doing right now is I'm just handwriting my actual story. So writing to her words of encouragement. That's part of what is great about that Believe stamp set. Words of encouragement, just very positive, life affirming sorts of things is what I'm writing on there too. Like, I'm really lucky to be able to be a part of her life, and I'm writing to her directly, telling her she's beautiful, and, just expressing thanks that we get to be, journey through some of the pieces of our lives together. So that's what I wrote onto the tags themselves. And then next up, I try to decide what kind of embellishments that I want to add. I knew that in those 2 yellow stamped tags that were just partial stamps on there, I did want to add something. So I poured out a bunch of my chipboard pieces that are from past kits and past collections, and kind of looked through them. The rainbows, the rubber rainbows, I went back and forth, and I was like, do I want to use these on here? I wasn't sure. They would have been totally fine on there, but I ended up, using some asterisks instead. And that just felt like what was right on this page. And again, right is in quotations because there's not really a right or a wrong. But I had a white set, and then I also had some colored versions, and I ended up using some of the colored ones there. Totally love how this turned out. Really fun playing with all of the background and patterns I created today, and I would love to see what you guys make with patterns and backgrounds and stamping.